Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Chris Elmer. I'm the village president. Thanks for coming tonight. And this night is really about you sharing with me, and I'm listening to you, and we'll probably give some feedback as well. Todd Schmidt, our village administrator, is here, as well as Kevin Glendale. So if you have any police-related questions or community safety type questions, he's here to help answer any of those questions that you might have. So I'll really just lead off by saying Waunakee's in a great place right now. I hope you all enjoy living here. It's one of the best communities in our state and in our country. We've been recognized for that. That comes with some great things, and it comes with some challenges for us, having those lofty rankings. So I will turn it over to all of you, and whatever you have questions about, feel free to fire away.
First of all, I would like to thank you for Citizens Academy. It's a great program, so if anyone has a chance to go through it someday, please do so. And then I have a question pertaining to the potential development where Meridian is looking at.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, what is the Village Planning Commission and the village looking at as far as Division Street? Would it go through? And if so, how would it stay?
I just want to pull the map up and show everybody where that. So the question is about the Meridian subdivision that's proposed, or development, I should say, that's proposed currently, and I just want to make sure I recap so I'm answering everything you're looking for. What's going to happen with Division Street with that? So at this point, I don't have an answer. We haven't had a real discussion about it yet. We've had a proposal by Meridian, brief proposal, and
So Chris, this is their original submittal. This does not show division going through, but the Plan Commission has indicated that that's an expectation of this development. And staff has been working with Meridian on pursuing the right way to continue division through. So the answer to the question, will division go through? The Plan Commission has indicated that they desire to do so. How? We don't know yet.
so my response originally to this proposal, if you notice where they have a park up on top next to Water Tower Park, can you point
Yep.
there? Okay, how do you access that park?
There's a little road.
Okay, there's not a real road to access that park at this point. So obviously with this rendering, we were going to need some changes to that. As Todd said, this is the first thing. The other thing we have, which is, I would say, something that's been in Waunakee since I was younger than you guys up front here, and welcome to the Boy Scout group here. So that's 40 plus years ago. And that's Water Tower Park and Water Tower Hill, which was kind of our original sledding hill. Still is our sledding hill. And that area, I'd like to protect as much as we can. So to get Division Street through, obviously the easiest way is a straight line, which will do what? It's going to make it tough to keep that hill. So as Todd said, we're still in the early stages of this. If there's a way that we can wind to make sure that that stays in, maybe a little changes up here with what we're looking at, we can maybe accomplish that. So that was my initial observations of this. And then obviously the way they're talking about the development, Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, they're kind of trying to go like this, starting down in here.
Well, they definitely talk about 8 to 10 years of phased development. Exactly where that starts, my assumption is that you're going to be near existing infrastructure to start.
Yes, and we've talked about what's going to happen down here as well. This is obviously our corridor coming into the community, so that's important that we protect the look of that. Our farming heritage, we've got Schumacher Farm right here. It kind of can carry right in through that, so I'm happy that they did want to continue with the barns that were there. They have some ideas on what they'd like to do. We'll see more details on that as it comes.
Thank you.
The planning process for this particular project is going to be rather active over the next 4 or 5 months. They've got a litany of approvals and a lot of public involvement in that process. So this will be a topic of conversation for a good 4 or 5 months.
So also, the state will be involved because this entry point right here, they've got an entry point up here right now. Whether they'll allow that or not, I don't know yet. Schumacher Road is also something that will be in debate as well for how we're going to handle that with the town of Buckler. Other questions? Otherwise, I have to ask questions, and it makes it more tough. Yes,
I
ma'am.
wanted to thank the streets division because today was a nice surprise. They have the leaves got picked up today, and I was kind of wondering if this know if that was going to happen. So it was very nice to find out, hey, they're out picking up leaves.
Oh, leaf pickup. Yes, our Public Works Department. It's interesting always. You hear different things about leaf pickup. When does it end? Well, what's happening right now is great because we've had freezing temperature. So if you watch the trees, they always go, and it's all coming down fast. Previous years here, we haven't necessarily had that, where it's been warmer. So the leaves stay down longer, and so it made it more difficult because our trucks that we pick up the leaf with, we use for plowing. So there's this fine line of when we change the trucks over from one job to another. And then bathrooms is another issue within the parks when we shut those down. The main reason we shut those down is, as you've seen, we've had some temperatures in the 20s here, that there's pipes that go to those restrooms in those bathrooms, and if those freeze, that's a bad situation, a very expensive fix situation. So the bathrooms do get shut down quite early compared to what most sports teams want them to be shut down. So thanks for your comment.
I would say we're also busy transitioning the crews. We've got 2 crews running the leaf collection almost continuously during the season. And then we also are working on transition to our snow operations, everything from prepping the blades to getting the trucks rigged up for that equipment. So it's also about staff engaging in that sort of winter version, fall and winter version of activities.
One of our fortunate things that I just pointed out is one of our staff out at Public Works is also in charge of our maintenance on all the vehicles. He's certified and can do all of that work, so it saves us quite a bit of resources and time actually for trucks and things being down. Yes, ma'am.
I want to go back to the bathrooms.
Oh,
I have
they're
grandchildren.
down the hall. Go
I
ahead.
have grandchildren.
Yeah.
And I am concerned, and I have complained about this for 3 years in a row, that there is no soap in the bathrooms. And every health procedure that you will read says that good hand washing is the best way to deter germs. So I'm wondering what the village has in mind for the next season about soap in bathrooms. Because I've not been to any other park that doesn't have it.
Okay, great question. I'm going to defer it because I haven't had a meeting of any sort to talk about that particular issue. So I'm assuming that.
But I think it's paramount, so I would like to hear.
Maybe you've had some dealings with it? I haven't had any, so I can't speak to it.
Well, I can only relate what the Public Works management has shared with me. We haven't had soap for quite a while, and the particular reason was the way that equipment, as well as the soap itself, was used. It was vandalized, and it had been used and smeared all over the bathroom. So it's not. So what it became was the element of staff time to actually clean up the soap mess. That's frankly what happened. What's reasonable and what we do on a routine basis is take a look at the technologies and the ways to deliver that sort of service in the future. Are there new types of soap products that aren't as problematic if they're smeared all over the bathroom, or are there pieces of equipment that are vandal-proof? Those are things that I think we continually look at. And I'll certainly ask Public Works to look at that, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion today to say that there will be soap in the bathroom next year.
So I would ask, do you have a suggestion of how for us to handle that? You asked the question, so that's what I'm here to listen.
I would like to know how other villages manage that. Have you ever talked to other villages, other park systems? Because I've not been in any park that didn't have it.
According to the operations director with Public Works, there are communities that do and others who don't. He at least indicated that Sun Prairie as one community that does not have soap in the public park bathrooms. I haven't done a survey. I certainly can, but we're not alone.
If you want my suggestion, I would say if you're not going to put it in there, there needs to be public notice everywhere on those bathrooms that you have to bring your own or some hand sanitizer because it's just extremely important.
Thank you.
I have a comment. I don't know if this has been looked at with the soap in the bathrooms. I don't know when the vandalism occurs, but are the bathrooms locked up at night when the parks are closed?
I think they automatically lock for most things. They automatically lock. I'm pretty sure that's.
I was just wondering if that was occurring because, you know, that's when the vandalism occurs and if they're locked, then if they're already locked, then that's going to be okay.
So my lesson with all this for all our younger group here is vandalism or hurting things in the park make it difficult for everybody who's enjoying the park. And whether it's doing stuff with the soap, starting fires, you know, bringing things in there and starting fires on top of things where it causes burn marks that have to now be fixed, to taking markers or anything and writing things on the walls, none of that stuff is good to do. And we actually had one of those things happen, and I was fortunate enough to not have the police involved because they didn't need to be. But some kids used some chalk, so just regular chalk. So it's easy to take off. It's not a super bad thing to do. But they put happy birthday to so-and-so on their birthday and their address. So it's pretty easy to figure out who did it. Okay? So I went and knocked on the door with my wife and offered to have them come and clean it up, or they could come down to the police station and they could explain to the police why that was there. Guess what they did? They came and cleaned it up, made sure it was done. Okay? Hopefully they won't be doing that anymore. I don't think they liked when I knocked on the door and their parents weren't home, so they were concerned about their parents finding out. Okay? But their parents did find out. Okay? So that's a minor example, but you know, one that's pertinent to this situation, because anytime we have any vandalism, it's not a good thing.
Maybe with Chief here, can you talk about, is there a trend on when we see park equipment vandalized? Is it typically middle of the night or?
A lot of it's been in the afternoons and during the day, unfortunately. We did end up getting some cameras up on Centennial Park because it was kind of an ongoing issue with vandalism. And it's slowed down since the cameras have been there, but periodically it has been happening in Main Street Park and Red Park.
Every year we have some doozies, whether they're lighting stuff on fire or intentionally clogging the toilets. If you saw the list of the stuff that happens, you would be really frustrated, frankly, with whomever in the community is doing that.
Other questions?
This is just a comment. I'd like the legal notices to be a little bit more descriptive. I brought an example here that there's a legal notice, and probably a good half of it is a disclaimer about that you have to decide if people are going to speak versus actually what's going to be discussed at the public hearing. So I would like to see that public hearing. I know Todd's done some supplements, but I don't want to have to go to a bunch of different places. I want the legal notice to actually give me the information.
Yeah, that's managed by the clerk, so you're talking about the agenda.
The whole thing about that Chris decides that people can see from the agenda items. Because I don't think that has to be published. Most people who speak already know that.
Yep. Okay.
It saves some money to one legal notice. And use that money to actually make the legal notices clear.
Oh, so you don't think all that should be, okay, got it.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious about the North Window Bike Trail. Has anything been developed on that?
I haven't heard anything from in regards to that at this point, but it was you.
Well, the entire corridor, you're talking about North Mendota, you mentioned the bike trail, but the whole North Mendota transportation corridor is under study by the county right now. There's dangerous intersections that are being looked at, like MMK, and then the traffic congestion itself. The good news is that there's agreement with Westport, Monarchy, and Dane County to pursue trail connections. In fact, we got grant money to help complete some segments of that. The issue is how we safely complete that connection, especially the segment where it crosses the creek there's a spot with a bridge, and we talked about a cantilever addition to the bridge or on street. So that's part of the discussion that's occurring now with the engineering department through Dane County. There is a public, I'm going to look it up. I'll look it up when you move topics, but there's a public information meeting coming up. I think it's November 13th, but I'll confirm that where is it? I'll announce the details here in a moment. But the county's going to be holding a public information meeting. It's a great place to go and get the latest and greatest from Horse Mill.
Did you have your name and email over there by any chance? Perfect, so it's not though. You can also maybe follow up with the email too.
Oh yeah, if you didn't sign up, I'm sorry, if you didn't sign up, please do. Your email is important because to the extent that I can't answer any questions, or we can't tonight, I send out an email with to touch base on the things that I wasn't able to address.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever thought of adding lights at Meadowbrook at the baseball fields?
Have we ever thought of adding lights at the fields at Meadowbrook Park? I'm trying to think of all of our parks meeting, if that came up as a topic or not. I don't believe it has at this point. Doesn't mean it couldn't. Lights are an interesting topic.
Because there was sometimes that a baseball game would have to be done because of the light, that there was no light.
Yeah, I did have a conversation with Jeff Spoke. He's our Parks Recreation Director that takes care of all the baseball. And so they're trying to figure out, maybe they have to start games a little early, the first game, so they can get enough time for the second game. It sounds like it's a problem for the second game, right? Yeah. So that's something he's looking at. I don't know, it wouldn't be happening as quickly as next year, I know that for sure. But it's something that could be proposed. It just hasn't at this point. Good question.
It's a good question. I'll check with the Parks Department, and I'll include in the email what our plans are for that park, if there is or isn't any plan for lights.
Yes, sir.
The robberies that have been happening lately, has there been any more, or no?
Sure. You're referring to the number of burglaries and stolen cars we've had. There hasn't been any in the last 2 weeks. But a lot of the people that have, those cases of burglaries and auto thefts, they have been, a lot of suspects have been arrested in those. However, there's so many people around southern Wisconsin committing them that they're continuing to go on. In other communities, we had some recently, Mason Lady Blackbird area that just happened. But fortunately, in Wanakee, we haven't had any in the last couple of weeks. Still out, knowing that they're still in the area.
So what I'm handing out is basically, I'm going to pass this out. We had a meeting in one of the neighborhoods with regards to basically how you can prevent things from happening. A lot of the situations that have happened where, oh, sorry guys, yeah. I've got 3 left. Do you have any more of those?
Sure do.
We can share.
Okay, sure. A couple of them right here, maybe. So, I think there was a car stolen in Meadowbrook, and some people requested a meeting. And so we had a meeting over at Meadowbrook, where Chief Wendell, I think Officer Kreitzman? Yes. Were the 2 police officers that spoke. They handed out this sheet. The majority of the situations that are happening are cars where they're just people that are going around that aren't from our community necessarily. The majority are not. And they go up and down the streets and they look to see if any cars are open. If they're open, they go in. And what's inside of most cars? A garage door opener. And what happens then? They go in the garage. Okay? If their car's open and there's no keys in it, but they want to take the car, well, if they open the garage door, what else can they get into in a lot of cases? Maybe the house. So their goal is probably to get the keys and then anything else that's your laptops, phones, things like that, that they can grab real easily and go. Is that?
Definitely. There's a lot of women that actually keep their purse in their car in the garage, and a lot of those have been stolen. The other thing we're seeing, in fact, we just had it Sunday night from 2 weeks ago, we kept a tab and hung on our door flyers. There's 9 open garage doors in one evening in Wanakee between midnight and 5 a.m. And it literally takes 20 seconds to go into your garage, look around, see if your interior garage door into your house is open, or go through your cars, or any valuables you have in the garage. So this is happening within a minute that they're in and out of their garage and onto the next residence on the street. So it's really a prime opportunity.
How many of them have been, somebody broke into the house where they broke a door down and broke a window?
We haven't had any that have been.
So zero of those. How many were they broke into the car that was on?
We haven't had any damaged vehicles.
Okay, so those tips right there, if our community listens and does those things, will be very helpful in cutting down the amount of these things happening. Now, we haven't had any recently, we talked before we came in, but they have had them in other communities. So these groups are kind of just going from to different communities. So there hasn't been any violence with any of these break-ins or anything, correct? In Wanakee?
Not in Wanakee, there's been a few instances where homeowners have come across someone who was just entering their house or in their garage and there's been some physical contact, but there's not been any of that in Wanakee so far. But I think they can pretty much rest assured that at some point they're going to be back in this community and burglarizing and trying to steal autos.
So big things is make sure your cars are locked, if they're outside specifically. Make sure your garage doors are shut at night. Or at any time, really.
The other thing, absolutely, if you have a chance and you see a neighbor's garage door open, send them a text or give them a call. They might not know it. I know most of these are oversights, but we're getting to the point that on a fairly regular basis, we know that people are out here doing this and checking vehicles and garage doors.
Okay. Good question. Yes?
It's more of a comment, but I did popcorn selling to the Scouts, and what happened was when I was going door to door, I saw someone's keys just laying out in front of their door.
Which probably wasn't a good choice. Yeah, not a good choice. Yeah, so that's a good point, and thanks for sharing that. Yes?
I was wondering if you plan on adding citizen members to the finance committee, and if so, when?
So, there's nothing saying we couldn't do that. We absolutely could. I think at the time when we went from our members in there to not having the members was a recommendation by our finance director that the majority of the work that was being done with the finance committee would be met. They'd meet right before the village board meeting. They didn't really have any power to do anything. And then the same presentation was right after at the village board meeting, and then the village board would act. So if we're going to go back to having citizens, I would want to make sure that we have a reason for them to be there, that they have purpose. If they're never voting on anything, they're never really doing anything, that doesn't, all that's doing is wasting their time. And that's how our finance director felt. We only met once or twice a year. In the finance committee, I wasn't on that committee at the time, but that's the basis for it. I don't see any reason why we couldn't, but I think we'd want to change that committee to have some other responsibilities and some more power within it, or at least some voting rights to do some things. Yeah.
Don't you feel that if they got a hold of the packet early enough and go through the packet, it would be beneficial just as extra checks and balance?
Are you referring if we had the committee?
Yes, if you had citizens on the committee, if they got a hold of the packet early enough.
Yeah, they did beforehand.
Okay.
Before this.
So
too.
that's what I see would be beneficial, would be just having extra eyes on it and just, checking things out. Because yes, things are good in Wanakee right now, but you never know when things will change.
Todd, maybe the process for that, that's something we could talk about at our retreat.
Okay.
Put that on there.
Kind of a follow-up comment to that, because I actually had to write the village about this, because it's actually an ordinance that you guys have for your finance committee. You're talking about what would stop it. I mean, you guys did change the ordinance to remove the citizens from the finance committee, so I assume you couldn't add it back in without passing the ordinance to change that back, since you guys made, a law, basically, saying this is how the composition is going to be.
Okay. Okay.
But it's real question. Can you talk about where the village is on implementing the recommendations from the housing task force?
Where we're at right now?
Yeah, I know that you guys discussed the CDA at the last meeting, but
Yeah, so that's the last discussion we had. We're going to move forward. Our goal is to get to the recommendations, each one of those recommendations. And I think forming that committee is first. And then once we have that committee formed with the people, then we can start to act on those things.
okay. Is the plan to, is there going to be public notice for, I assume that you have to write an ordinance change to completely renew the CDA, since it's
Yeah,
a state
depending-
law.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
all right. Any timeline that you can share with that?
I would hopefully have something before the end of the year.
My expectation is it won't be a Monday's meeting, but 2 weeks from then, so not this coming board meeting, but the following. Partly due to the fact that the person to present from UW Extension isn't available next week, and the board had asked for extension to do another presentation for the task force study.
I'm sorry, Kristen.
Well, Kristen was going to give it, our attorney suggested that since she's a city board member, that she not be the one to present.
Okay.
So we had to schedule for Sharon.
Yeah.
So Sharon's working on her calendar to come to the board meeting.
Okay.
So I'm hoping three-ish weeks. No.
And is that going to be open, is that get like public discussion since it's an ordinance change or?
Well, I don't know the answer to whether it's going to change. One thing is we have a CDA now. It was passed by resolution back in 2011, maybe, to create the CDA. That established, and it's got a wide range of duties established already, and our attorney's taking a look at whether there ought to be adjustments to that, or if it may be legit good to go as is. So I don't know the answer yet to whether there's going to be ordinance modifications or modifications to the resolution at all.
Okay.
Whether or not, I did make a comment at the board meeting when we talked about the CDA in regards to historical preservation being part of that. We'll see if that happens. I don't know if it's the right spot for it or not, but I do want to work towards something with the historical preservation. Maybe its own separate committee, something. I don't know what that's going to be yet.
But that's why I was asking about ordinance change, because of the historical.
Yeah.
That in particular would require change.
So, yeah, so we just don't know how that, we want to make sure that both things are effective with what we're doing, so we write it and do it properly. Okay? Other questions? Yes, sir.
Why don't you make it a law to make sure that cars that are left out on the street unoccupied need to be locked?
I'm sorry,
He said, why don't we have a law that cars that are left out on the street unlocked would be against the law?
why don't we have a law for that? That's pretty restrictive for a person's right to be able to park their car in their driveway or on the street and be able to leave it unlocked. We'd have to actually physically go around and check doors too, which was something we wouldn't do on a vehicle that would infringe on a person's rights. So that's not something we get involved in. Plus the volume of cars, we would never be able to proactively enforce something like that.
Is there a law for people leaving their keys in their car?
There is. Yes.
Are they supposed to leave them in their car?
They're not supposed to.
Okay. But again, it's hard to enforce that because you'd have to be proactively going around all cars. I will say that one of the cars that was stolen was for sale and had the keys in it. So,
Special deal.
that's a true story, right?
That is true.
That's a true story. So,
That's the law.
again, maybe not the best choice, but it did happen. So, other questions? Yes, sir.
I wanted to mention that when I saw the whole thing that went on with Hy-Vee and Festival earlier this year, that originally Hy-Vee was asking for a TIF, and Festival was preparing to, although they hadn't ever gotten around to doing it. It was mentioned several times in meetings that Festival was going to be also asking for a TIF. Then all of a sudden Festival didn't need one, and all of a sudden Hy-Vee didn't need one. And it showed to me that businesses are eager to come to Wanakee, whether there's TIF money there or not. And it kind of made it pretty clear to me that if it hadn't been for Festival coming in and trying to also come, we as taxpayers would right now be on the hook for $2 million in TIF money to Hy-Vee that now we are not doing. Okay? So I think the TIF stuff is being used a lot more than it really needs to be, a lot more often than it's not as necessary anywhere near as often as we are told by businesses that want to come in that it's so important and necessary, otherwise they just can't do it. And I also wanted to ask, in terms of that, who's talking about TIFs now? Is there going to be more TIFs in Kilkenny? Is there going to be TIFs involved with the Viridian project? I mean, who's talking about TIFs now?
My knowledge, I haven't heard of any TIF requests recently. I mean, that would be more than years. I haven't heard of it.
No active requests. The Viridian project indicated that they do not intend to seek do not intend to make a request for TIF district.
Okay. So the TIF actually worked to our advantage with the Highfield Festival situation and how it played out. We're able to use it to the village's advantage versus the developer's advantage. So, yes, sir.
The parking lot around Boston's Pizza, the time we went there, even though there weren't a lot of cars there, the parking lot was still pretty full. Could there be a bigger parking lot?
Could there be a bigger parking lot? Yeah, that's one of the things actually that the developer is talking about right now, is adding some spots for that. When you have something open that's brand new, there's typically a lot of people that go there right away, and so there's a larger amount, but you're right. Can we talk about that for a minute? Okay.
Yeah, pretty quick.
So where the land is in front of Boston's is going to be a Quick Trip gas station. And the road that's going in there, where you're talking about car parking, is actually no parking when that goes there. Because there'll be too much traffic activity that's going to be going on there, and it'll be unsafe to have any parking on that street. So we are looking at ways that we can enhance some parking there now. There is additional parking down the way, but it's a little bit far away for workers to be requested to park at, for safety reasons, more than anything. In the wintertime, having to walk in the dark might be a challenge. So we're trying to figure out some good solutions for them for additional parking right now. Yes, sir?
Why are we adding like a few, I don't know how many more bars, but I looked in the newspaper, like a few more bars near the Main Street area, or on the Main Street?
Bars?
Bars, yeah.
I don't know of any other bars that we're adding on these.
Well, there's the red and white wine bar
Oh.
that's proposed at where Lake House was, or Lake Candle Company. Is
Yes.
that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, so that is a, I don't know how to describe it right now. It's like bricks.
Wine bar.
Another concept of bricks, which is another wine bar. They don't serve other alcohol, correct? It's just wine that they're going to be doing. I wouldn't say that the way you classified it was saying we're adding those kinds of bars. I don't think there's any other bars that we're looking at putting in. Those are the ones that are there, the ones that are there. But the wine, I don't know what to call it, the wine bar? Is that what it would be described as?
Yeah, wine bar.
Wine bar. Has been approved. We only have a certain amount that we will allow for permits, and they had to pay an additional $10,000.
I'm not sure on that
I
one.
think it's
I'm not sure on that
$10,000
one.
additional to have their license to sell. So that's revenue that comes into the village as well. Not that we're looking to add all kinds of bars.
So the state of Wisconsin tells communities in our state how many establishments we can have that sell beer, liquor, or wine. And there's a limited number for every community. It depends on your population. Bigger cities can have more, smaller cities have fewer. But the state sets that rule. Communities can, and some have, actually made the rules more stringent. So maybe the state says we can have 20, but maybe the village board would say, oh, we think maybe 15 is better for us. But the village board couldn't say we want 25. They can't go more than the state.
So for our crowd that's under 15, you look there. Tom, you over here? Oh, okay. What do you guys want to see in Wanakee? You're growing up here. What would you like to see that we may not have right now?
More books in the public library?
Say that again?
More books in the public library?
More books here? Okay. Yes, sir.
More libraries positioned about, maybe they can be small ones, but I prefer that there were, because I think that it would be hard to cross from where I live by the old library. I think it'd be hard to cross that major road to get here, so if you could have a few little libraries positioned about.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking the library director's language.
He's saying multiple. I think you're saying that we'd have multiple little libraries.
Branch spots.
Little branches.
I saw the bookmobile yesterday.
Okay.
You know, we do have a book bike.
A bookmobile was like.
We have a bicycle that has
That's right.
small,
I had that.
little mini library on wheels.
So I heard 2 library things, which is great, because we have a brand new one. Anything else? Or do you want to keep perfect? We don't need anything else. Don't need anything else? Anybody want a community pool in this group?
Well, we already have the water already.
So you have neighborhood pools?
Yeah.
Would you like one that has water slides and you
Yes.
can walk in and there's warm water?
Maybe
And
a few water slides, but I think that my stepmom told me that there was a lot of people that were requesting for like a bigger pool because we have a high school pool, but that's kind of reserved for the high school mostly. So my stepmom told me that there were a lot of people that wanted just a regular big pool so that they could host they could section off a little bit for birthday party or like a small race or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
A neighborhood pool in 6 Mile Creek.
A neighborhood pool in 6 Mile Creek. So it's so, okay, it's going to be hard for us to accomplish that one, unless the neighborhood wants that specific and they would want to do it. When it's the village and our government, we have to look at the whole village and how it could impact. Maybe it could end up in 6 Mile, whatever we did for community pool, but just for 6 Mile, we probably have a hard time. Yes, sir.
Maybe like adding like a trampoline park or like an entertainment place.
Entertainment facility.
Yeah.
Okay. That's actually in the village budget as a placeholder for, we'll be in high school past probably before that gets there. But it is something that we're looking at. Forgot? Okay, if you remember, come back. Yes.
Like, you know how Kilkenny has zip line? I think every park should have a zip line.
Every park should have a zip line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay.
Okay. You got it. Okay, what is it?
Amusement park.
Amusement park. All right, define amusement park. There's a lot of different ways you can define. Because the group on this side of the room might define amusement park different than this side. So we have, what's the amusement that we're looking for?
Laser tags.
Roller coasters. All right. Well, all right. I'll take it under advisement on roller coasters. Yes.
What about more restaurants? I'm pretty sure the only time I've ever been to a restaurant besides one was Boston's Pizza.
Okay. So we added Weston's Pizza. There's the Lone Girl. We have a lot of restaurants that people don't even realize that are around the community. Where you go to Cuco's, to Rex's, to I don't want to stop or I'll forget somebody and I'll be in trouble. But we have more restaurants than people realize. And it's a common thing that I hear, not from just your generation or your age group, from the whole village, is could we have some more restaurants? The issue is we want them to stay, right? We don't want them to open up their doors and have to close in a couple months because they don't have enough business. So they look at our population to figure out, can we support? And then they decide, well, yes, we believe we can support it, we feel that we can make it, and they'll open their doors. So we want to make sure they have a successful launch and are here for the long term. Do you guys take a guess right now? What do you think is the oldest restaurant in Wanakee?
Like the Gold Nugget.
Just to define it as I'm trying to decide if I want to define that as a restaurant.
It's their
You might be right because of the location, but I'm thinking restaurant, pure restaurant, that's literally bar. There's another one that's probably going to win that one. Yeah?
Rex's Innkeeper?
Yeah, Rex's Innkeeper. Been
Oh,
there.
yeah, I remember this. Oh, Rex's.
Okay, and there were other restaurants before Rex's Innkeeper. Okay, that went away. So, you know, it's always great when you have, you probably remember, you're a little older than me, a couple of years. What was before O'Malley's right there?
Oh, it was, yeah.
Mr. Chipper, that's it. Mr. Chippers, you guys remember that one? No, it's gone way before you were born. So we've had some other restaurants too. So, all right, we'll cut off on the restaurants. What other things would you guys, I'm going to stop you guys for a second. Can I, just for a second, to come back to the other group, because they're important too, right?
No.
Yeah, they absolutely are. The community pool, the discussion you've heard of, okay? What it's going to be, don't know. We're just starting that whole process. There's going to be people that are going to be for this in our community. There's going to be people that are against this in our community, just like most things, okay? And as we go through the process, it's going to be important for us to look at what's in the best interest of our village. You know, we have other things that we have to support and pay for. This building, the village center, our roads, our employees, all the different things that we have, parks, and we have to make sure we can pay for all the different things. So as our budgets have been going, you'll notice in Wanakee, if you have $20, right? All right, and that's what you pay for every year for your taxes. It's been pretty close to $20 for a long time now. We haven't seen a lot of change within that, even though we've added a lot of different things to our community over the time. And you won't see a big change this year. A little change, probably from our budget. We'll see. We haven't gone through the whole process yet. But we're doing things like doubling our infrastructure for roads and repairs. Okay, that's important. You'll see some of the roads in the village aren't as good as others. And if you're one of those roads that's not as good, what do you want done? We want it repaired and fixed. Okay? So by increasing, going from 1 million to 2 million and changing how we're going about doing that with mill and overlay as opposed to full reconstruction, we can get to a lot of roads faster and for a better economical price. So we can redo those roads and get everybody's roads nice as soon as we possibly can. So roads is one of those things, but the community pool, there's going to be options. If you were in the session or you looked in the paper, you saw there's a spray park, a regular aquatic center, regional aquatic center, and then an aquatic center, regional aquatic center that would have a dome over it that would be year-round. Okay? Who would be for a spray park by itself? Okay, so just one spray park. How about just a regular-sized pool? Okay? How about what they call a regional aquatic center that would have water slides, a pool, and then a lap pool on top of it? Okay? Which one do you think is the most expensive so far?
The one that we want the most.
Okay, no, it's not even that. Because that last one, what if we put a dome over it so it can be used 12 months a year as opposed to 75 days? So you can use it year-round. Okay, so there's different things that we're going to take into account as we go through this process. Now, when's it budgeted potentially for? 2022? I think it's the earliest we could do it. But more like, so 2022 is the earliest it would be done. So how many years is that? Well, we're right at the end of 2019, so 2022, say just over 2 years, we'll say, okay, within that. That's our process that we'll go through, and guess what we're going to really be looking for? Everybody's input on this. This is one that's, we don't have this right now, okay? The library we had our library over there, this facility came from that. There's still debate about whether it should be a referendum for the library or not referendum. The board made some decisions with this property. I think if you ask anybody in our community, would you rather have a polluted, dumped on, bad site in our downtown area or a beautiful library? I think most people would say a beautiful library as opposed to that. But the pool is, in my opinion, is going to go to referendum. I'm only one board member. How many votes does the village president get?
1.
Yeah. 1. That's it. Just like the other 6 members, they get their votes, I get mine. Okay? You guys have questions?
Yes.
I'd love to hear your tenacity and keep your arms out that long. That was awesome. Are they getting tired yet?
And mine
All right.
has been,
Go ahead.
I have 3 things, but I forgot the third one. Okay, so the first one is I kind of just I don't know if you know the area, but you know the area near Tuscany Lane that's branch the border between Watertown and Westwood, that area.
I know the area, yes.
And there's a lot. It's I think it's Woodland.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of bumps on that road.
Yep.
That is one thing, which is kind of annoying. And my second thing is they should have the yo-yo or whatever it's called, the frozen yogurt place.
Yo?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the bumps, anybody else have any concerns about those bumps out there? Some people have said some things about the bumps. Robert, you live out there, so you probably would have some concerns about those bumps. When that road was redone, the state was involved with that, and they used a different type of material for underneath. kind of recycled concrete stuff as opposed to normal gravel, which is used on most roads. And what they found out was that it doesn't work all that well. Okay? It came with a wonderful guarantee and warranty, which I believe was 1 year. Okay? So we're trying some different things, and I believe we're doing one more thing right now to try before we have to go through a full reconstruct. Part of that section is in the town of Westport, part of it's in Wanakee. So before we spend a lot of money to redo that, we're wanting to try some easier things that aren't as costly and see if they'll work based on what we're being told. So the bump issue, we know about it. We're trying to figure out the best way to handle it, and you'll see some work done on that. Is that still leaving this year?
Yeah, like right now.
Yeah.
I just posted something.
What's that, Linda?
I just posted something about that portions of that road I think are going to be closed. I mean,
This month, right? Or
Yeah.
early November?
Okay.
Yeah, November.
Adults, any questions before I come back to the kids? Yes.
I was wondering, how are we moving along with possibilities for the old library site? And while I would also like to thank the parents and the boys for coming and being good citizens. It's a good beginning, and we really appreciate it.
I agree with you. Why don't you give a round of applause? So this call is somebody who wants to call to tease me and give me a hard time. This is my brother who lives in Hawaii. And he found out that it snowed here last night. And we grew up here, so he's calling to tease me. So we're going to put him back in the pocket so you can have that. So your question was?
The old library
It's an old
site, what's
library.
going on with that?
It's a topic that we're going to be taking up very soon.
Yeah.
Our decisions really are pretty simple with it. One, do we want to move Village Hall there from its current location? That's an option that we're looking at. Two, another option could be we're going to sell Village Hall and we're going to sell the old library. And this building was designed that we could put Village Hall right on. That's part of it. Correct? Okay, that could be an option. I'm not really in favor of that option personally, but that, and then we stay in Village Hall and look to sell the library. Now, there's complications with that library because of the parking and the agreements that were made originally with the school district having, if it's not a public facility, they would take over the rights to that parking lot, and we'd only have parking on the one side then, which would limit that facility heavily for potential users. So we're going to be having these discussions in the very near future.
Yeah, the village board did authorize staff to work with an architect to evaluate the extent of the work that would be required to convert it to a village hall use. That process is underway. I'm expecting the results of that within a month. So that then will be able to tell us what would it cost to renovate for village hall purposes. That's one half of the equation. The other half of the equation is what could we get for the old village hall on the marketplace. And we do have proposals from a couple companies to coordinate an RFP process for redevelopment or reuse of the old village hall site. So those two items will be to the village board simultaneously. And if they think that the renovation cost is within parameters that make them comfortable enough to take the next step, then we would begin the process with an RFP for the old village hall. But I think it's within a month and a half or so, and the board will be talking about those two things simultaneously.
Any other adult questions at this point? Not that you guys are doing a good job, you are. Yes, sir.
I was wondering why the village decided to pass the resolution supporting the F-35s when that's not really our issue. And also just a comment that when a citizens group brought forward a move to amend, there was a proposal like Citizens United to say there's just a resolution supporting to have an amendment to the Constitution to say get big money out of politics. The board said we can't do that, we can't do that. And so just having a resolution to go like that for F-35s, I'm not for or against them, but it just seems like there should be some policy there. That why are we even giving our input on something that's beside maps?
So I'll answer as best I can. One, I can't speak for the other board members of why they would have voted for.
Who brought forward?
I'll talk about me. So it was me that brought it forward. I was requested by some of the pilots in the village, and ground crew, to consider doing this. Some Prairie and DeForest have done it as well already. And I attended meetings in Madison when these were going on, the discussions for the Madison folks. I was at the Alliant Energy Center for when they had their discussions there. Very heated debate that went on there. I listened, I learned why it was a good thing, and I presented it to the board. As village president, I could put that on the agenda, and I did. The other village board members could have said no. Absolutely could have said no. It's the reason, I gave my reasons at the meeting of why I was supporting it. The main one is that our pilots, and I believe that it is a good thing for our country, our vocation. Now we're going to make the decision.
I understand that. It just seems like we're kind of going outside of what the village should be doing.
Sure. I was supporting our citizens for this one, and I knew that our vote won't change their vote whatsoever. But they came, and I believed in their cause, and so I presented it to the board, and the board also made a decision with it.
Do other board members get to propose agenda items? Who makes up the agenda items? Because I usually hear it comes from you.
Come from me. If they want to have something in, they can ask for it to be put on. They can ask. Correct? I'm not.
No, so Chris advises myself and the village clerk as we prepare the agenda. If another board member has interest in an item, the way that typically happens is they might approach a staff member or approach the village president and say, hey, I'm interested in X, Y, or Z. At which point we might suggest, or we might put them in at a staff level, we take care of the issue. Or it may require some more policy discussion, and the advice is that let's start it through a committee. Maybe it's the planning commission, maybe it's Parks and Rec, but then it's vetted at a process before it then comes into form to be in front of the village board. So that's what we've typically seen when other board members are interested in the topic on the agenda.
Sam, you have no questions. You're first.
I'd like to talk about the intersection of Madison and Skyview, and that beautiful gravel path that goes along the county land. But the problem is there's no way across Madison Street until you get all the way down to Lexington without getting out on the road. And because it's straight across there, I would like to see a crosswalk there so people could get across so there's a marked location.
So you're talking about this trail right here?
Yep.
Coming over to here?
Yep.
I walked it the other day, I think it's a good idea. I live around the corner from
One of the reasons I went to him too, plus from a security standpoint or safety standpoint, do you see need for that there?
I think it would be a good idea about that.
So you're talking a crosswalk, right?
Yeah, right there. Because there's no crosswalk crossing the road all the way down until Lexington.
And there's no sidewalk on the west side either.
No, north of
North of there, right?
You mean here?
Yes.
Okay.
I can get that, I can discuss that with the public works director. I think that would likely go through the public works committee for process. Sounds like you have the chief's support.
Others?
I appreciate that you hold these sessions. I first one I've ever been able to go to since I moved here, actually. Almost didn't make it tonight. I wanted to ask, so is there anything that stops the other trustees from doing listening sessions like this, or is this a policy that it's only you?
No, they could do them as well. Most of them don't come because it gets noticed, and there's a little bit of whether we should all be in the same room at the same time, even though we're not voting on anything.
I'm not saying that they need to come with you, but like, is there anything stopping them from like their own listening sessions?
I don't think they could. So Joe, I think Joe is who instigated one of the Meadowbrook that they had. With
I don't
regards,
remember hearing about that.
with regards to,
That was the Rosewood Public Safety.
But I mean, that would be specifically what I'm talking about.
Well, that was
Safety issues.
Not,
Yeah.
correct. But it's the same concept, Joe could call.
Well, I mean, it's his neighborhood.
Phil,
I would expect he would take that lead his own neighborhood.
Or Phil, or Kristen, or anything, they can all call their own listening sessions if they want to.
Have they ever done one that, I mean, some of them have been on it for almost 2 decades. Like they're-
Yeah, I've never had a request since I've been here from a trustee, but if they were interested, I'd be happy to work with them to do that.
Okay.
Is that good? Good answer. Yes, ma'am.
I applaud this kind of format because I think gradually, as they transpire, as we incorporate more people in the village, they will feel more ownership in what happens and feel more obligated to let the village officials know what's going on in the relative communities. I'd like to echo what Nana said about parents bringing in children. They're learning from that experience and we're learning from them. And so I think if we could do this on a regular basis, so that people would know, well, November we know we went through this, have high school represented. I think it would really, and the senior citizens, I think it would enrich our community and the decisions that are made would be more representative of the total population. And then again, the outcomes will be, I think, a lot better.
Well, I will say, I think, Nyla, you were one of the few, maybe you hide, but one of my first listening sessions, I think, was at Neighborhood Connection. I think we had 4 people. So we're 5 times bigger, I think, right now. From that one, in our short time.
Hey, John Lawmeyer and I did one better. We had one where nobody showed up.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we just looked at each other.
No, I echo exactly what you're saying. I like doing these things, and I'm comfortable. I hope you're comfortable asking your questions and making your comments. I think everybody in the room wants what's best for our community. I truly believe that. And this is my community, by the way. I'm not an outsider, nor is anyone else here. If you moved in 6 months ago, you're not an outsider. You're part of one team. That's what you need to know. Yes.
Can you kind of describe, I know you said you're the village president, but one of these boys are supposed to learn, I guess, specifically what your role is in the community. Are you full-time? What does it mean to be the village president?
Okay, the difference really between the village president and the village trustees, it's pretty simple to figure it out. One, I set the agendas, which was one of the questions. So I meet every week or every other week with Todd and Caitlin, who's our clerk. And they go over the agenda with me. So I think we go over agenda Thursday morning this week. It's usually Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning that we do that. So that's one of my duties, is doing the agenda. I get a vote just like the other trustees. I run the meetings, so we have meetings. I'm going through the agenda that we have for that evening, and I get a gavel, which I don't know that I've ever used. I'm not a big, you know what a gavel is? It's like a hammer that you can put on a thing. I'm not a big gavel guy. So I go through the agenda, and we have an attorney that's there who makes sure that I'm doing everything right on the agenda. Or that's his role, is to make sure that if I miss something, that he points it out to me. It's not a full-time position. It is, well, I wouldn't want to put in hours to it, but it's like having a heavy part-time position to almost a full-time position of work, in addition to my other job, which is full-time as well. So is it a lot of time? Yep. I think it's quite a bit more time than the regular trustees. So I was a trustee before. So you've got, as village presidents, the village president knows everything, right? The President of the United States knows everything, right? The governor knows everything, about everything, all right? So as village president, when you're walking down the streets and your wife is a first grade teacher, you pretty much know everybody in the community, okay, at that point. And people ask you questions about things like, you know, what subsurface are you using on that road over there? Don't know what it is, but they'll think that you know all the different things. What's great though as the village president is when I don't know the answers, the people that are in charge of those departments do, and I'll go to them to find out what those answers are, and I'll have them respond to me and to the people that have the questions. Let's see if am I missing anything? The village president role? Really?
You kiss babies sometimes? Shake hands? Cut ribbons?
So we
Well,
do
ceremonial.
in my family, we do have 5 babies that are 2 months apart amongst my nieces. That happened, so that was an interesting event when all 5 showed up at my house once. So I think most of the dads were crying from lack of sleep. But anyway, the moms are all tough. So you guys remember that, since we don't have any girls represented here. Where's all the girls? Invite your friends. You have friends too. Oh, there she is. You have a question. I'm going to say it right now. You must have a question. Come on. Anything. What's your favorite thing about Wanakee? You don't know? What's your least favorite thing about Wanakee? Happy you didn't say me. Okay, for the last one. So, okay. So yeah, it's important that all of you are learning about this stuff. Yeah, I've got it.
Circulation.
Okay, put it down. Let's see. What's your question?
Can we get a noodles and company in Wanakee?
That's a great question. Can we get a Noodles and Company in Wanakee?
Oh, man.
So my answer to that is, I'm not the Economic Development Director.
I think that'd be wonderful. I personally would lose a lot of money because my kids would go there a lot. But let me show you one thing. So here, this is the Hy-Vee that's going to be built next year in Wanakee. They're moving dirt over there now, and this is a fueling station that goes with it. And there's a development proposal right now for this lot that will have probably space for 6 or 8 different commercial uses on that property. So there's actually a picture on their website of what that might look like. There you go. So can you envision a Noodles and Company sort of fitting in to a space like this?
Yeah.
So it's entirely, it's entirely possible. I will say that Noodles and Company as a franchise they've got a lot of rules about the type of community that they allow a franchise to exist in, and that has a lot to do with population and the amount of traffic. It also has to do with the amount of people that are there during the daytime to help the lunch menu be successful. So I have not, in my 9 years here, been approached by Noodles and Company franchise. So it doesn't mean that it won't happen, but I do see potential for something like that, or maybe Noodles in the future, but other types of uses in a space like this. And that would be under construction next year as well.
How do the parents feel about Root Noodles?
I have a suggestion for the boys. If you really want something, go on the website for like Noodles and Company and contact them and let them know and tell your friends to contact them. That way you will be investing in have something happen in the community, whether it happens or not, but do a internet contact thing.
So my only comment, I deferred it to Todd, was that my son, who's 20, goes to the University of Wisconsin. And his comment to me the other day was, Dad, why isn't Culver's downtown? It would make a killing with the students. We'd love to have a Culver's down there. And I said, I don't have any say in that. And I don't know. Culver's would be there if they can get there. It's the same with Noodles and Companies. They'll come if they want to come. It's all about profits and making money with that. That's when they can come in.
I think if you
Hold on.
put in
Yes.
If I hear you correctly, that Hy-Vee is going to have a gas station, and then a block away is going to be a Quick Trip?
So I didn't say that. Todd did. But what you heard was yes. So this Hy-Vee has gas pumps right here. Right there.
And then Quick Trip is going to have a second station in Wanakee.
All right, so let's give it a question, just tell the whole story.
No, well, yeah, Quick Trip has, go ahead.
Can you go out a little bit so you can show?
This picture, let me switch to the map.
So, do you want to say it or should I?
No, go ahead.
So, there's not one, there's not two, there's 3 that are going in the quarter. So the 3 that are going to be here. Here's Boston's.
Yeah.
In this area. Right next to Boston's, it's leveled right now, there's the turf right next to it. There's a Quick Trip that's going there. Then Hy-Vee's here.
Yep.
And then there's going to be Hy-Vee gas station over here. And then here is another Quick Trip.
But what? Why?
So I would clarify clarified that there's a process required for both of the Quick Trip proposals. There's no secret about their ownership interests in the land, as well as their interest from a marketing perspective of being flanked on major corridors. That's a strategy that is part of the marketing strategy.
You'll see that in a lot of places where you see them kitty corner on the bottom. That's kind of the concept of what they're trying to get done. All right, that was a good murmur. I got a good murmur on that one. Great. Yes, sir. Why do we have so many pizza places? Because kids like pizza. No. When people say, why do we have so many pizza places? Pizza places come here because they feel they can make money, that they're going to be a profitable business, and pizza is one of the easiest ways to be profitable from a food perspective. So you'll see a lot more pizza places as a result of that. Boston's, since we've had that, that's what I heard right away when it was proposed. Another pizza place? Because what is it? What's its name? Boston Pizza. Okay, they have pizza, but they also have a full menu if you haven't been there. I will point that out. So, I don't know if that's a good answer to the question of why we have so many, but that's the reason. Yes, sir.
About the noodles company, if we can't fit one, how about we put two in?
Two. All right.
Let's
We have a noodles
contact
company
them.
fan. Adults, other questions or comments? Yes.
Everybody here.
Has the board considered moving the village board meetings to 7 o'clock? When we first moved here, they were at 7 and people can make that if they're working a lot easier than the 6 o'clock time. And I don't know why it moved to 6 o'clock.
We haven't talked about it.
I haven't heard.
I can't remember ever.
I brought it up before.
I don't remember having any discussions in regards to it. Maybe put it on a retreat and they consider
To add on that, it'd be really helpful because since the Board of Education meets on Monday nights, I mean, you really have to take one or the other, and sometimes.
When do they meet?
I think they combine into open session. Yeah.
So their meeting's at 7.
Yeah, but.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, it's the plan.
So that's I have a meeting coming up with the school coming here soon, so I'll propose that because we kind of have to have a discussion on if people want to get to vote, how can we get that accomplished? So then we look at both schedules, not just our schedule for that. Fair? Okay. Anything else? Nothing about noodles? Okay, go. Okay. Not that I'm cutting you off the noodles.
Yeah,
We have a good noodles discussion so far. Yes, sir.
No, when your retreat's gonna be?
Yeah, the date is December, November. It's Saturday.
Is it the 16th?
I don't have it right in front of me, so I just know it's a Saturday. It'll be posted.
Yeah, it's the 16th.
November 16th.
November 16th.
Okay. Do we know where?
It'll be here at the library.
It'll be here at the library, November 16th.
That's
Okay?
library or village center. I guess we have to double check.
Okay.
We're not sure which one.
Okay. Which one's available? We don't know. So do one or the other? Yes.
I don't know this one.
You least like. Okay, go ahead. School. All right. You are one of the 1% minority. I'm not liking the schools. I have to say the schools are great. My wife is a teacher at Fair Elementary, which is over here. So, all right. So least like the schools. You don't like the food at school. We'll go with that. Okay. Yes, sir.
I would like to see one to stay at a smaller community.
Okay. A small community, not get much bigger. Okay. So what size should we stay?
I mean, about this size, like that little. It's not getting too much bigger than this.
Okay. All right. So parents in the room, if we don't allow any more new developments, is it good for the village?
No.
What happens to house values if we don't let any new houses be built? Do they go down or up, do you think? It depends.
There's not
Really?
as many.
There's not as many available, so that's all the regular houses then probably are going to get more expensive if people still want to live here. Now, if Wannabe becomes a place that people don't want to go to, then the houses will go down if you don't build any. So it's hard to say that we're not going to grow because we're going to grow. what we've been growing, and everybody here who's been here for some time, Nyla knows for sure. I'm not sure I know your name, so I can't.
Vicki, and I've been here 36 years. I've got stories.
So Vicki's been here 36 years. Kai's been here for some time? 92? Okay. So I remember when the village was much smaller. We really only had bars, for the most part. We didn't have a lot of other things for people to do. We were a little farm community, just outside of Madison. And the people in Madison, you know what they would say about Wanakee? Oh, that's way out in the country. Okay? Now, hop, skip, and a jump, and we're there with things. So our growth, for all of you up here, I've said this many times, we average about 90 homes per year that are added. People think it's a lot more, but it's about 90 that we're doing. And that spot has been a good spot for us as a community from a growth perspective. We're not growing ultra fast, and we're not going ultra slow. All right, we're kind of in that good spot right now. Now, is it always going to stay that way? We don't know that, so we have to prepare that it could be, you know, all of a sudden, maybe we get up to 120, 130. Guess who that impacts? Who do you think that impacts if we have too fast a growth? School. A lot more kids coming in. Your class sizes get different. You got to build new schools. You got to do all those things much faster. So keeping a growth that's very moderate is a good thing for their budget. It's a good thing for the village budget. And it's how we're able, when I talked about that $20 earlier, keeping taxes there, having growth helps it so we can afford to do other things because those taxes are coming in. So that's my answer to that. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but okay. Yes?
Well, why is the intermediate school so like off of like Wanakee?
Why is the intermediate school so off of Wanakee? Kind of out in the country there a little bit? Yeah, well, move this. There's a housing development, it's going to go around that school. So it won't be out in the country very long. But I can't speak to the school district though, so there's their governing body over here. Okay, they have elected officials, just like the village board does, that they make decisions about the schools. And they do a fine job, great job. Then you have the village board that makes decisions in regards to our roads and infrastructure, and how we're going to have our comprehensive plan, which is what's all happening. All right? What's my favorite thing about Wanakee? Does anybody know what my favorite thing about Wanakee is? Some people know me more than others. What's my favorite thing about Wanakee, do you think?
That's Wanakee.
What's that?
That's Wanakee.
That it's Wanakee? Well, no. Because remember, I grew up here. I've been here my whole life, other than when I went to college. Yeah. The people? I love the people. If I'm talking about something specific in Wanakee, what do you think I like the most about Wanakee?
So your dad's here, so you have relatives.
People, okay, relatives. It's actually right here. Main Street. Many communities don't have the presence of a main street. We do. All right, we've always had a main street in Wanakee. Anybody ever been to the forest?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not against the forest in any way, but what's the forest main street? What's their downtown? Don't have it. So I believe that the main street is a sense of community where people can come to, and all the events and things that we're trying to get down in Wanakee. Is there a lot of traffic on Main Street? There's a lot of traffic on Main Street. Okay? So one of the things I fought for when we were doing this was the path that's going out in front here. Right now, the path that's going to continue down, hopefully all the way out to Rex's. So if people don't want to walk on Main Street, they have an opportunity just to come right off Main Street and they can walk all the way. Sam, I know you do a lot of walking. It's great to get off Main Street, but you can walk, and we have nature that we can walk through. Most communities don't have that. Okay, this Main Street. So that's my favorite part of our community. It's something that I'm fighting for right now. This isn't out in the public, so I'm on camera, so it's going to be stated. The water tower that's in the downtown. Okay? One of our signature things as you come in the community. If you come in from any corner, it is the first and biggest and highest thing that you'll see. All right? I don't want to see that go away. I'll state it right now publicly. I'm in the camera. I don't want that to go away. It's a signature thing of our community, and it's been here forever. It's our first water tower. It has the look of that old water tower. So utilities-wise, is there going to be any relevance to it in the very near future? No. No. So what do we have to do then to keep it? Anybody know?
Make it historic.
Maintain it. Okay? Is it going to hold water? Because guess what? It'll fall over if there's no water in it. It won't structurally support itself. So what can we put in instead of water? I learned all about this already. Sand. That's sand. Okay? And we can have that. Why? Because it's part of our Main Street culture in Wanakee. All right? I'm a big believer in our Main Street, if you're not figuring that out right now. All right? Are there things that I do that make some people mad in downtown? Yeah. It's not to make them mad, because you have to make decisions. As village president, you have to make decisions that are in the best interest of all of the community and what you think is best. And you try to take in information and make those decisions. Sometimes you're going to agree, sometimes you're not. But the people are all the people that want to keep. And I love all the people. So, you guys have your hands up, I can. For this long time. I love that you guys are so interested in this. It makes me happy. I have to do a class at the high school that I'll be talking about government there coming up here. So, to your point before, I'm actually going into the high school to do it. And one of the teachers asked me to come in and give a presentation about village government. So, yes?
How many people want to get rid of the water tower?
I don't know that there's anybody that wants to, but it will come before a committee. They'll have to make a decision. And it's the utilities committee that'll have to make that decision. So, yes?
Back to the housing idea of expansion, I was thinking that if demand goes up and supply stays level, then the price also has to go up because the demand, there's not going to be gaining in demand. Back to the idea that it would be added.
Do you go to Wanakee schools? I can tell. Good comments there. You're right on with that. You're right on with that. I'm keeping up with that. So it's a fine balance that we're trying to make right now. And if you heard, how did you ask about the housing study, West? Robert asked about the housing study that we just went through, and we have several committee members that are here tonight that were on that committee. We're going to be undertaking some different things to see how we can get some different types of housing into the community that may be different price points for people coming up, and you'll see that happening here in the next year or so, depending on how quickly we can get through that. It's not something we want to go through quickly, though, because we want to make the right decisions for all the community. It's important. So, anybody else?
I kind of have one question. So you're talking a lot about Main Street. Maybe you don't want to talk about this, I totally understand. With the Viridian project, I have heard more than one person in the community approach me about concern that Main Street will become a 4-lane and we lose all parking. Can you comment on that publicly? Is there any discussion about that?
I mean, I think that the state tried to get us 4 lanes the last time.
Right.
They came in and did the road. I don't think there's any discussion that we've had at this point to make it 4 lanes. We don't know what that, now, when we're...
The state did...
They kind of gave us a strong indication we want to do that.
But they reserved, they didn't say it will never be 4 lanes as a state highway.
Correct.
The state did not, they were definitive that it won't be.
Okay, can I ask a follow-up question then from that? Probably the best way that you could defray traffic would be to invest in some sort of mass transit option, because if you build more lanes, you're just encouraging more cars. So is there any plans for the village to maybe look into heading off the state from saying now it's time to go to 4 lane because you have so much traffic, by getting some sort of, I don't know, a bus service out here that connects to the metro area so that we can get more cars off the road? I think even one of your trustees told me once that she would gladly take a bus into work at the university. Just how it was, but you know, she said it to me, like, I'd rather take a bus into work from Wanakee.
Yep, the village is part of the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, that's run by the city of Madison. And there is a transit plan, and there's routinely discussion about potential feasibility for either a BRT, bus rapid transit route, or commuter route to connect the outskirt communities. that discussion starts to go quiet when they start to talk about the funding source for it. The question is ridership, fare box. How does the fare box support it? And then what sort of local subsidy will be required? And what federal aid is available? So a lot of finite sources of revenue have kind of stalled that discussion, but it remains on the MPO's long-term plan for concepts that could be implemented. So it's not ignored. They revisit it every couple of years with the MPO's process. As far as this, what we did hear from the state, though, about 19 and 113 being two state highways, is that a potential more meaningful solution to alleviate traffic on Main Street would be to simply relocate the state highways. North Mendota Parkway is not that solution according to the state. What the DOT has said that someday maybe shifting 19 and 113 to the north to essentially connect Watertown to Sauk is a connection that might make sense for regional transportation. That's the state's job, to get traffic from point A to point B. So they believe that that might be the big ticket solution to alleviating the pressure, but there you're talking about I can't even imagine the price tag on that and the egg land destruction that would result. It's so on and so on. I don't know the answer, Robert, the best answer to the question. But ridership studies have been completed, and I think it's worth continuing to look at that.
I'll just add a couple of things. We have 4 entry points to the community. Okay, Q is basically a good entry point. Coming in now in the roundabout up is a good entry point. Coming in from Highway 12 is a good entry point. Going by Rex's, if you have cheap that are loose, you could lose them. Okay? 113 past Rex's. 113 past Rex's. If you have teeth that are loose, they'll probably come out.
Oh, yeah, roads are terrible, yes.
The road is really bad over there. That's a state highway. Okay? Well, I would say that is a horrible road right now, yet it's still not slated to be done, I think, until 2021 or 22.
Oh my gosh. You mean going north?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I think,
2021. So from a funding perspective, they can't even get that simple stretch figured out from a funding category. But they have to delay it that far, and that's assuming that there's funds there. So I don't know how they're going to look at the cost for this road, and whether they're going to invest the funds that we're talking about. We can't speak for them. They're going to come in. They tried to come in the last time, and it was no. We were able to stop them from doing it. But they ultimately were like, yeah, well, at some point, this is happening.
Right, so that gets back to my original question that I think Todd kind of answered it, it's kind of a yes, no, but so is the village actively looking at alternatives to make sure that Main Street is protected by alleviating traffic? And yes, I understand the road north is terrible, but I mean, in speaking with my county executive, my county supervisor, I was told that the village has been approached before, and it stops at funding. As soon as funding comes up, nobody wants to call it anymore. So is somebody going to be a bigger person, kind of like a Mayor of Madison sat with Joe Parisi, and they finally fixed the road down in Madison that Soglin couldn't agree with them on for so long, down there on 5 Road, you know what we're talking about, remember that? They argued for years, and then we got the mayor down there, and then they fixed the road. Is it something that that the village and the county have to work together when it comes to cost saving or mass transit options?
I think there can be both, private and public, that can happen here. I can't remember if I read it or if I was at a conference that they talked about it. There's a community that's over to the east, Columbus, somewhere over that area, where there's another town that's like 18 miles to the north of it. I don't remember what the town is. But the company, there's a large company there, and they were having a difficult time having employees there. So they set up a rideshare program because a lot of their employees lived in the Columbus, Beaver Dam, somewhere in that area. So the employer was paying one employee to do a rideshare with 4 others. So it was paying for their transportation, and then those employees had to pay $1 to get their back and forth. So there's different things that can be done. It's a matter of taking the steps to do those proactively.
I mean, that already occurs in the village. You already have employers that are busing through staff in.
Do we?
Yeah, Jeff Toots told host that in housing festival?
So I think it's possible, like unique use too. I don't think they do
The Candy
anything.
Factory for the Village Center did, they had their own bus that they brought
Yeah.
over to work in. So I think you're seeing that, but I think you're gonna see more of that, is what I mean. I'm still curious to see what Hy-Vee is gonna do when they have 300 people that they want to put in that building. So where are those gonna come from? I see potentially 7 here, in the future, but, or sorry, 8 back there, but I don't know.
I would end by saying that the MPO was clearly our link to move the discussion forward within the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization. And that also falls under the Transportation Planning Board. So a lot of government legal going on, but what I will do in the email that I send out is include contact information for our MPO, as well as the latest study that they've completed, which indicates the potential for mass transit solutions. We've never rebuffed the conversation as they pursued it, but there definitely comes there's a clear stopping point when the feasibility is pursued.
So, I think we're about 7:30, so if you don't know, there's an app that you can put in your phone called 912, and pretty much anything you have or want to know, find out, you can send into that app. If you see a light bulb out at one of the street lights, take a picture of it within the app, and it actually sends an email right away so they know where to go fix it. So we can get those things done. So knowing those things is a good thing, so use your app. And we're done again. They're walking out, that's a pretty good thing. Thank you all for coming. So I try to do one every quarter. So for a year, do you want more of them?
Or you can send somebody else so they don't have to be constantly.
I don't feel rough. I love what you're saying. I'm going to go like this one with the school. Because